Hello everyone, John AG here. Welcome back to my channel, Aurex. If you haven't yet, subscribe to my channel. In this channel, you will find the real information, real market updates that everyone cannot tells you. So please subscribe this channel and love you all of my subscribers for your support. And please watch this video till the very end because YouTube will not push my videos to more people and add many things related to this topic and make this speech fully professional, emotional, human touch, and powerful. Look at the device you are holding in your hands right now. Listen to the hum of the electricity running through your walls. Think about the invisible data streams bouncing off satellites in the cold vacuum of low Earth orbit, beaming artificial intelligence algorithms down into the servers that control our global financial system. We have been conditioned to believe that this modern miracle is built on software. We are told, day in and day out by the mainstream media, by Silicon Valley billionaires, and by Wall Street analysts, that the future is entirely digital. They want you to believe that wealth is now created out of thin air, written in code, and stored in the abstract ether of the cloud. But I need you to lean in and listen to me very closely, because that is the greatest illusion ever sold to the human race. The digital world does not exist without the physical world. The software revolution of the 2020s has violently, irreversibly slammed into the hard, unforgiving reality of the Earth's crust. Today is May 21st, 2026. You and I are living through a fundamental restructuring of the global order. The rules of finance, geopolitics, and human survival are being rewritten right before our eyes. And the centerpiece of this massive global shift is an element that most people completely misunderstand. We have been taught for centuries to view silver as the runner-up. We see it as the consolation prize, the second-place medal hanging heavily around the neck of an athlete who just barely missed out on the gold. We think of it in terms of dusty, tarnished candlesticks locked away in a grandparent's attic, or the worn-out coins jingling in the pockets of a bygone era. I need you to take that entire perception, that entire outdated worldview, and completely erase it from your mind. Silver is no longer just a precious metal. It is not just money, although it has served as the most honest form of money for over 5,000 years of human history. Today, silver has become a strategic geopolitical weapon. It is the absolute, non-negotiable, silent, beating heart of the 21st century economy. Without it, the modern world does not just slow down, it completely and catastrophically stops. If the supply of this one specific element were to suddenly vanish, the artificial intelligence revolution would freeze, the green energy transition would collapse, global communication networks would go dark, and modern military defense systems would be rendered entirely useless. To understand why this is happening, why sovereign nations are quietly panicking behind closed doors, we have to look at the undeniable laws of physics. Silver is a freak of nature. Out of all the elements on the periodic table, out of everything humanity has ever mined, discovered, or synthesized, silver possesses the highest electrical conductivity, the absolute highest thermal conductivity, and the highest light reflectance. It is the ultimate conductor. It is the perfect transmitter of energy and data. And here is the terrifying part for the tech giants of the world. It cannot be effectively replaced. You cannot print it in a lab, you cannot write a software patch to code your way around it, and you cannot substitute it without suffering massive losses in efficiency, safety, and performance. Over the past 4 years, our species has become violently, hopelessly addicted to artificial intelligence. You have seen the headlines. You have watched the generative video models create entire worlds from a text prompt. You have seen autonomous systems slowly integrating into our military and logistics networks. But what you have not seen is the bleeding-edge physical infrastructure required to make that magic actually happen. The cloud is not in the sky. The cloud is a network of millions of hyperscale data centers sprawling across the surface of the Earth, massive concrete fortresses consuming more electricity in a single day than entire developing nations consume in a month. High-performance AI microchips, the neural networks processing billions of calculations per second, run unbelievably hot. The thermal friction generated by this level of computational power is staggering. To keep these systems from literally melting down, engineers require extraordinary thermal management solutions. Silver is used in the thermal interface materials, the advanced solders, and the high-reliability connectors because absolutely nothing else in the known universe dissipates heat and conducts electricity with such flawless mathematical efficiency. As the global power grid expands to meet the insane, insatiable energy demands of these AI systems, the requirement for silver in switchgears, industrial relays, and heavy-duty electrical contacts is skyrocketing exponentially. We are completely rebuilding the planetary energy grid to feed the AI revolution, and the backbone of that new grid is made of silver. It is in the semiconductor bonding wires. It is in the 5G and 6G antenna coatings. AI does not run on lines of code alone. It runs on physical hardware. It runs on silver. And the massive technology conglomerates are quietly waking up to a terrifying reality. All the software innovation in the world means absolutely nothing if they cannot secure the physical metal required to build their servers. But AI is just one side of this monstrous demand equation. For the last 10 to 15 years, governments across the globe have mandated an aggressive, politically driven shift away from fossil fuels. We are in the middle of a forced global energy transition. At the absolute center of this movement is solar power, or photovoltaics. Every single high-efficiency solar panel produced on Earth requires silver paste to conduct the electricity generated by the sun. Let us look at the historical data because the numbers tell a story of absolute desperation. In 2014, the global solar industry accounted for roughly 11% of total global industrial silver demand. Fast forward to where we are right now in 2026, and the solar industry alone is devouring nearly 35% of all the silver pulled out of the earth globally. Think about the magnitude of that shift. More than a third of the global supply of this critical metal is being swallowed whole by just one single industry. The engineers have tried to fight this. Manufacturers have spent billions of dollars attempting to thrift the metal, trying desperately to engineer panels that use slightly less silver per unit. But the sheer, astronomical, unprecedented scale of global solar deployment has completely overwhelmed these minor efficiency gains. The world is blanketing deserts and solar farms at a pace never before seen in human history. And why are we doing this? Because we are simultaneously attempting to electrify the global vehicle fleet. Electric vehicles are another massive black hole for silver supply. An EV uses significantly more silver than a traditional internal combustion engine vehicle. It is woven into the battery management systems, it lines the charging infrastructure, it is critical for the infotainment centers, the complex motor controls, and the LiDAR sensors required for autonomous driving. We are standing at a unique, unprecedented crossroads in human history. We are trying to electrify the entire global transportation system, rebuild the entire planetary energy grid, and construct the most advanced artificial intelligence infrastructure ever conceived, all at the exact same time. And all three of these historical megatrends require the exact same finite, dwindling, rapidly disappearing resource. This brings us to the fundamental math of the silver market, and I promise you, the math is horrifying. For any market on Earth to function properly, supply must meet demand. When demand vastly exceeds supply, a market operates in a deficit. To fill that deficit, industries are forced to draw down on above-ground stockpiles, the reserves sitting in the massive vaults around the world. Right now, in 2026, the global silver market is operating in its sixth consecutive year of a severe structural supply deficit. We are literally consuming vastly more silver than the global mining industry is physically capable of pulling out of the ground. We are burning the furniture just to keep the house warm. The major global exchanges, the COMEX in New York and the LBMA in London, have been quietly, ruthlessly bleeding physical inventory for years. We saw the cracks form in October of 2025 during that historic liquidity squeeze, where massive amounts of physical silver were drained from the system, causing lease rates to spike violently. It was a screaming, deafening alarm bell that the physical market was finally buckling under the strain of decades of paper manipulation. I know what you were thinking. You were probably asking yourself, John, if the demand is this high and the deficit is this bad, why don't the mining companies simply dig more out of the ground? Because they cannot. It is physically, geologically, and economically impossible. Silver is not like a factory assembly line where you can just add a night shift, hire a few more workers, and double your production by next quarter. It does not work that way. Over 70% of all the silver mined on Earth is extracted as a byproduct of mining other base metals, like copper, lead, and zinc. That means even if the price of silver goes to $200 an ounce tomorrow morning, a massive copper miner in Chile or Peru is not going to completely re-engineer their entire multi-billion-dollar operation, blast entirely new tunnels, and change their milling process just to extract a slightly higher yield of byproduct silver. Mine production is fiercely inelastic. On top of that, the global ore grades, the actual amount of silver found per ton of dirt moved, have been steadily falling for decades. We have already mined the easy, high-grade silver. What is left is deeper, harder to reach, and significantly more expensive to process. Furthermore, it takes an average of 10 to 15 years of bureaucratic nightmares, environmental permitting, capital raising, and sheer physical labor to discover, permit, and build a brand new mine. We are slamming directly into a geological wall at the exact moment human civilization needs this metal the most. And as if the geological reality was not terrifying enough, we must now look at the geopolitical chessboard. On January 1st, 2026, the entire global landscape shifted permanently under our feet. China, the undisputed, unquestioned factory of the world and a dominant, aggressive force in mineral processing, implemented strict, draconian export controls on silver. They placed the metal under a rigorous, approval-based export licensing regime. If you read between the lines, the message from Beijing was deafeningly clear. They officially elevated silver to the exact same highly restricted strategic status as rare earth elements. Why did they do this? Because the leadership in the East is playing a ruthless game of multi-generational three-dimensional chess, while the politicians in the West are arguing over checkers. China currently controls the overwhelming majority of global solar panel manufacturing. They are aggressively, relentlessly expanding their domestic AI computing power and their semiconductor fabrication capabilities. They understand a fundamental truth of the 21st century. Whoever controls the physical silver controls the global energy transition. And whoever controls the energy transition dictates the future of global power. By heavily restricting the export of silver, China is ensuring that its own domestic tech and manufacturing industries have cheap, uninterrupted, guaranteed access to the metal. Meanwhile, the rest of the world, the United States, Europe, Japan, South Korea, is left frantically fighting over the dwindling, pathetic scraps remaining in the COMEX and London vaults. This is exactly what I mean when I say silver has been weaponized. It is being used right now as a geopolitical chokehold. The era of free, uninterrupted, globalized trade is completely dead and buried. We have fully entered the brutal era of resource nationalism. Let us pivot and talk about the price action because I know that is why many of you are watching. I know that is what matters to the survival of your portfolio. In late January of 2026, the immense, unimaginable pressure cooker finally exploded. The combination of sheer industrial panic, the implementation of the new Chinese export controls, and a massive, sudden awakening of institutional investors sent silver on a historic, violent, face-ripping rally. It shattered the psychological barrier of $100 and spiked all the way up to an all-time high of nearly $121 per ounce. It was a financial shockwave that rattled the halls of power from Wall Street to Washington. The deeply manipulated gold-to-silver ratio collapsed violently below 50 for the first time since 2012. That singular event proved to the entire world what we, the Aurex community, have been patiently and loudly warning about for years. When the overwhelming tightness of the physical market finally breaks the corrupt, fractional reserve manipulation of the paper derivative market, the price action in silver is more explosive, more aggressive, and more uncontainable than any other asset on the face of the earth. Since that staggering peak, as we sit here today in mid-May of 2026, the price has naturally pulled back. It has been heavily consolidating, violently chopping around in the $75 to $85 range. If you turn on the mainstream financial television networks right now, the suited analysts are telling you that the rally is over. They are telling you to take your profits. They are telling you to sell your physical metal and buy back into their over-leveraged, hyperinflated tech stocks. Do not listen to them. Do not let them manipulate you out of your position. This pullback is not a reversal. It is a critical, necessary digestion phase. It is a tactical reset. The market simply moved too fast, and the overleveraged paper speculators had to be ruthlessly cleared out of the system. But I want you to ask yourself a very simple, logical question. Has the fundamental story of this market changed even a fraction of a percent? Did the massive AI data centers suddenly figure out a way to magically stop generating heat? No. Did the governments of the world suddenly cancel their trillion-dollar solar energy and EV mandates? No. Did Beijing suddenly reverse its strategic export controls and decide to generously flood the Western world with cheap silver? No. Did the global mining industry miraculously stumble upon 1 billion ounces of easy-to-reach, high-grade silver sitting right on the surface? Absolutely not. The structural deficit is still here. The global vaults are still bleeding dry. The geopolitical tension is significantly worse today than it was back in January. At $75 an ounce, silver is currently trapped in a vicious tug-of-war between the suppressive trading algorithms of paper derivative banks and the desperate, panicked reality of physical industrial buyers. Every single time the paper price takes a dip, massive industrial conglomerates, aerospace defense contractors, and sovereign national entities are quietly, aggressively sweeping in to buy the physical metal, taking it off the open market permanently, never to be seen again. What you are experiencing right now is the eye of the hurricane. It is the eerie, deceptive calm before the next, significantly larger, fundamentally unstoppable storm. I want to step away from the charts, the data centers, the geopolitical maneuvering, and the supply-demand curves for a moment. I want to talk directly to you, the individual watching this on a screen, trying to navigate a world that feels completely unhinged. Why do I spend thousands of hours digging through this research? Why do I get behind this microphone, look into this camera, and plead with you to understand the mechanics of this specific market? I do it because the global financial system, as it operates today, is deeply, fundamentally, and intentionally unjust. It is a system meticulously designed to extract the wealth, the labor, and the lifeblood from the working and middle classes, and silently funnel it upward to an untouchable elite. Inflation is not a naturally occurring economic weather event. It is a deliberate, hidden tax. It is a mechanism of theft that destroys your purchasing power, quietly stealing the irreplaceable hours of your life that you traded for a paycheck. When you hold fiat currency, paper money or digital digits on a banking app, printed out of thin air by an unelected central bank, you are holding a rapidly melting ice cube. You are holding the unsecured debt of a bankrupt government. But when you hold a physical ounce of silver in the palm of your hand, you are holding a tangible, indestructible piece of the earth. You are holding elemental truth. You are holding an asset with absolutely zero counterparty risk. Silver has been real, honest, verifiable money for over 5,000 years. It was the money that built the Roman Empire. It was the money that financed the founding of the United States of America. It is written into the very fabric of our Constitution. And today, in this hyper-technological, politically fractured, desperately resource-starved world of 2026, it is transformed into the single most critical, severely undervalued physical asset on the planet. This is not just about placing a good trade. This is not just about getting rich or beating the stock market. This is about opting out of a broken, corrupt, dying system. It is about protecting the generational labor of your family. It is about securing your personal autonomy and your absolute freedom in an increasingly authoritarian world. When you make the conscious decision to buy a physical silver coin, or when you strategically allocate capital into a high-grade, well-managed silver mining company, you are doing something revolutionary. You are taking direct, physical possession of the exact same material that global superpowers, tech billionaires, and defense contractors are currently desperately fighting over. You are front-running the global elite. The story of silver is, at its absolute core, a deeply human story. It is the story of the exhausted miners working a mile deep underground in the suffocating heat of Mexico and Peru, extracting wealth from the stone. It is the story of the brilliant, overworked engineers trying desperately to build a cleaner, more efficient energy grid for our children. It is the story of massive, sprawling sovereign nations flexing their geopolitical muscles on the world stage, fighting for survival. Most importantly, it is the story of the everyday investor, the working person, the individual, like you and me, who is finally waking up, seeing through the massive illusion of fiat currency, and taking decisive action to control our own financial destiny. You do not need to be a Wall Street insider to win this game. You do not need a degree in high finance. You just need the courage to look at the brutal, undeniable reality of the physical world. The modern world absolutely requires silver to function. It currently does not have anywhere near enough of it to survive, and the intelligent, prepared individuals who hold it in their possession will be the ones who dictate the terms of the future. We are standing on the very edge of the most massive, historic repricing of physical assets the world has ever witnessed. The aggressive weaponization of silver by global superpowers, the completely insatiable price-insensitive demand from the artificial intelligence and green energy sectors, and the absolute undeniable failure of the global mining industry to keep pace have combined to create the perfect, unstoppable economic storm. That violent run-up to $121 back in January was not the end of the story. It was merely the opening act. It was a brief, shocking preview of what happens when physical reality asserts dominance over paper illusion. The current consolidation we are experiencing right now in the $80 range is an absolute gift. It is a final, narrowing window of opportunity for those who are awake, aware, and paying attention to the shifting tectonic plates of global finance. Do not let the manufactured volatility shake you out of your position. Understand exactly what it is you hold. Understand exactly why it is so immensely valuable to the survival of the modern age. And most importantly, hold on to the deep, unshakable conviction that you are standing on the right side of economic history. If you found value in this deep dive, if this broadcast opened your eyes to the harsh realities of the 2026 market, please do me a massive favor. Hit that like button right now. Share this video with someone you care about, your family, your closest friends, anyone who desperately needs to wake up and protect their wealth in these incredibly uncertain, volatile times. And remember, YouTube will not push my videos to more people if we don't engage, so please comment your thoughts down below. Are you aggressively buying physical silver at these current levels? Do you see the price shattering its January highs and setting new all-time records later this year as the Chinese squeeze tightens? Let me know your exact strategy in the comments. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, hit that subscribe button right now. In this channel, you will find the real information, real market updates that everyone cannot tells you. Love you all of my subscribers for your support. Stay strong, stay completely informed, and never let them separate you from the truth. John A.G. signing off. I will see you in the next one.